I just remember kind of seeing him walk around. He was really calm, stone-faced, no expression.
버지니아주 블랙스버그에 위치한 버지니아 공대에서 최악의 총기 난사 사건이 발생했습니다.
He didn't speak at all. He was completely silent the whole time.
My memories of him are being alone, being isolated. More importantly, though, just being pretty invisible.
And we used to try to okay, let's try to get him to interact. And hey, so what are you doing this weekend? Are you going to the movies? Do you have a girlfriend? Just asking any questions that we would ask any other high school guy.
He would communicate with us either with a head nod or at the end, he did say a few words to me.
총격범은 23살의 한국인 재학생 조승희로 밝혀졌습니다.
애가 점잖하다고 그랬거든. 말을 잘 안 하고 그저 쳤다. 그런 병신인 줄 모르고 애가 순한 줄만 알았지.
그래 조그만 때도 말이 없으니까 이게 수줍어서 그런가 보다. 공부 잘한다니까 그럼 좀 똑똑한 놈인가 본데 이렇게 생각하고 그랬는데 얼마나 그 가슴이 아프겠느냐 이런 생각이 나도 계속 납니다. 그리고 그런 그 부모들이 얼마나 괴로워하겠느냐 이런 생각이 이제 나고 4, 5년 사람도 그냥 일밖에 모르고 자기 식구밖에 모르고 전형적인 한국 사람이야. 아이들 위해서 사는 거지. 열심히 이러고.
When the time came, I did it. I had to.
사전에 치밀한 계획을 세운 조승희는 기숙사에서 2명을 죽이고 우체국에 가서 자신의 영상과 사진을 담은 내용물을 방송국에 보낸 뒤 강의실을 돌아다니며 총기를 난사했습니다. 조승희는 콜럼바인 총격범들에 대한 존경심을 편지에 남겼습니다.
You had 100 billion chances and ways to have avoided today, but you decided to spill my blood. You forced me into a corner and gave me only one option. The decision was yours. Now you have blood on your hands that will never wash off.
8살 때 이민 간 조승희는 미국 사회에 극도의 적개심을 나타냈습니다.
No eye contact from the nodding. He would break out in his sweat. You know, that he would seem to really freeze, that he really was unable to respond.
극도의 수줍음으로 학교 생활에 어려움을 보였던 조승희는 13살 때부터 다문화 도움센터에서 정신과 상담을 받기 시작했고 선택적 함구증과 우울증을 진단받았습니다.
It's a diagnosable condition where a child who's otherwise really chatty at home is inhibited and often unable to talk in situations like school or play dates or activities, sometimes for an entire year or years.
Selective mutism would have benefited most if it had been diagnosed and treated very early, early childhood. By age 13 when he came, the assumptions are that it's not only a brain anxiety disorder, but it's also a lifestyle and a whole life that has been organized around it and very hard to change.
When these children are left untreated, this completely affects their self-esteem, their self-worth. They often are very lonely individuals. They can be very sad at times. But what's important to understand is there's no link between selective mutism and violence. And what was going on with Cho was a very complex situation.
If there's any criticism that I could make, it would be that perhaps they were not home enough. Both of them working long hours. There may be consequences to pay if you're not home, especially when you have a child that has special education needs.
The parents, it became very apparent to me that they were very caring and concerned family. The other important thing to understand is that the father described himself as being an introvert throughout his life. And so he really saw Sangui as very similar to him. The father grew up to be fine, and so they just thought that the son would also grow up to be well.
우울증약 복용과 함께 지속적인 정신과 상담을 받던 조승희는 적극적인 노력으로 대학에 합격해 가족들을 기쁘게 했습니다.
He was the one who wrote his applications up. He received no help for that, and so was very self-directed. And the parents were actually happy for him that he was taking the initiative. They were very surprised with how determined he was and that he made it happen for himself.
그러나 조승희는 여전히 사람들과의 교류에 어려움을 겪었습니다.
I tried to say hi to him once, he didn't respond. And if anybody else said anything to him, he didn't respond to them either. Cho just seemed shy to us, but once he really went out of his way to make sure that nobody can interact with him, it did come off as arrogant. He's the most antisocial person that I've ever met.
A lot of people have talked about how he wanted to escape attention, but I think that he really wanted to be noticed in a way that to me was disturbing.
대학교 2학년이 된 조승희는 사람들과 직접적인 교류 없이도 자신을 마음껏 표현하며 주목받을 수 있는 작가의 꿈을 꾸기 시작했습니다. 그는 자신의 환상을 담은 소설을 완성하며 사람들에게 인정받길 기대했습니다.
She didn't wish to teach this student that she had in her class anymore. She was very concerned about him. That something that he'd written seemed disturbing to her.
수업에서 배제된 조승희는 루신다 교수에게 개인 지도를 받게 됩니다.
There's always a very dangerous combination with young writers where they are both very, very insecure and incredibly arrogant. He seemed to have both of those things. You know, he was not a great writer and he didn't have a great deal of insight, so it was more like a kind of teenage angst thing. I really did try to discourage him from launching into a career too quickly because I thought he'd be rejected.
조승희는 자신이 쓴 소설을 출판하려 출판사의 문을 두드렸지만 혹평과 함께 출간을 거절당했습니다.
He was so sad, it seemed to me, that he was crying.
조승희가 쓴 소설과 각본들을 분석한 로저 박사는 그의 글에는 항상 많은 친구가 등장했고 고통을 겪더라도 친구들과 함께 겪길 바라는 세상에 들어가 사람들과 함께하고 싶은 강렬한 욕망이 드러나 있다고 말했습니다. 또한 자기 혐오와 함께 사회를 자신이 절대 성공할 수 없는 불공정하고 희망 없는 곳으로 여겼고 현실에서 순종적인 자기 모습을 글을 통해 강하고 반항적인 모습으로 만들어 세상에 대한 복수와 파괴를 꿈꿨던 것으로 분석된다고 말했습니다. 그에게는 상상 속의 쌍둥이 형제와 자신을 스팽키라고 부르는 우주선을 타고 자신을 찾아오는 상상의 여자친구가 존재했습니다.
Adopting different personas is very common with individuals who don't feel very centered and don't have a sense of who they are. These talks about having a twin brother or him being a question mark reflect the ambivalence that he probably felt about himself, and the twin brother probably a reflection of more the ideal self that he wanted to be.
기숙사 메이트 앤디의 노력으로 마음을 열게 된 조승희는 사람들과 어울리기 시작했지만 그의 행동은 사람들을 불쾌하게 만들었습니다.
He sat down with us and there was a group of girls next to us and all of a sudden we see a flash and he had taken a picture and these girls are all looking at us, you know, kind of annoyed.
There's many individuals as they get older that have selective mutism, the social anxiety starts to go away, but their conditioned and reinforced mute behavior persists.
수줍음이 없어진 그의 행동은 이상한 방향으로 흘러가기 시작했습니다.
He went to a girl's room. He was wearing sunglasses and a hat. He goes, "Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?" And she obviously didn't, and she became very frightened, threatened to call the police, which she did. He was obviously very upset with this girl. He told me he wanted to go look in this girl's eyes and see if she was cool, and all he saw was promiscuity, and he talked about her being a whore and stuff.
두려움을 느낀 여학생들에 의해 몇 차례 경찰에 신고당한 조승희는 죽어버리는 게 낫겠다는 말로 룸메이트 앤디를 걱정하게 만들었고 앤디의 신고로 정신병원에 24시간 입원하게 됩니다. 조승희는 정신과 치료를 받으라는 법원의 명령을 받고 풀려났지만 치료를 받지 않았고 후속 조치 역시 취해지지 않았습니다. 이후 더욱더 혼자가 되기로 결심한 조승희는 자신을 피해자로 여기며 복수의 환상을 계획하기 시작했습니다.
You just loved crucifying me. You loved inducing cancer in my head, terrorizing my heart, and raping my soul all this time.
So he said, okay, how can I leave a mark in a way which no one can take away from me? And how do you do it in a way which would grab the world's attention? He was sort of moving away from this victim role of someone who the world did not consider sort of strong into creating a sort of a macho image for himself.
조승희는 자신의 소망대로 학교에서 일어난 미국 최악의 학교 총격 사건의 총격범으로 자신의 이름 3글자를 세상에 남겼습니다.
What a coward. He thinks he's doing a noble thing and he thinks he's being like a big shot or something by killing people, but these people are defenseless.